The first sign something was wrong wasn't the woman. It was the for sale sign already planted in my dirt. Still warm from the sun. Fresh. Like someone had been planning this for a while. I had barely killed the engine when I noticed it, angled just right so I couldn't miss it. A glossy real estate placard standing on land my grandfather had owned for over 40 years. No warning. No call. No letter. Just sold. Or so it claimed. That's when she came into view. Fast. Purposeful. Like she'd been waiting for me. She crossed the gravel drive with that unmistakable HOA stride, the one that says I decide what happens here. Clipboard tucked under her arm. Phone already in her hand. Sunglasses too expensive for a place this rural. The kind of woman who never asks questions because she already believes she knows the answers. And before I could even shut my door, "You need to leave," she said. Sharp. Final. "This is private HOA property." That sentence hit harder than the 18-hour drive I'd just survived. I stepped out slowly, my legs stiff, my chest tight. Not from the drive. From the memory. From the fact that I was standing on the same ground where my grandfather taught me how to mend fences and sit quietly enough to hear the wind change directions. "I think you're confused," I said. Calm. Careful. "This is my family's ranch." She laughed. Actually laughed. A short, dismissive sound. "No," she said, tapping her clipboard like a gavel. "This land was absorbed into the Pine Ridge Estates HOA last year. And it was sold this morning." Sold. That word echoed. I hadn't even unlocked the house yet. Hadn't walked inside. Hadn't stood on the porch where my grandfather used to drink coffee at sunrise. And this stranger was telling me it was already gone. I felt my stomach drop. I told her my name. Told her who my grandfather was. Told her I had the deed in my truck, along with probate paperwork and tax records going back decade. She didn't look at any of it. Instead, she leaned in slightly and lowered her voice like she was doing me a favor. "Sir, if you don't vacate immediately, I'll have no choice but to involve authorities." There it was. The HOA move. Threats before fact. Control before truth. I glanced past her, past the sign, past the fence line, and that's when I noticed something worse. Survey markers. Bright orange flags dotted along the far edge of the pasture. Stakes driven deep. Straight lines where none had ever existed before. Someone had measured, planned, divided. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a takeover. My heart started racing, not from fear, but from something colder. Anger mixed with disbelief. Because my grandfather was meticulous. Borderlines, deed, taxes. That land had never been part of any HOA. Ever. I told her that. Her smile tightened. "That's not what our records say." Record. Funny how HOA records always seem to appear when money's involved. I asked who authorized the sale. She turned her phone screen toward me just long enough to flash a name I didn't recognize. And then she said the sentence that changed everything. "Failure to comply will result in trespassing charges. I'm calling 911. Her thumb hovered over the screen. On land my family had owned longer than her neighborhood had existed. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just an HOA Karen story. This was about to become a legal war. The phone was already at her ear before I could say another word. "Hi, yes," she said sweetly, turning her body slightly so I was now the problem in the scene. "There's a man trespassing on HOA-controlled property. He's refusing to leave. Trespassing. On my grandfather's ranch." I stood there, stunned, not frozen, but calculating. Because this wasn't just arrogance. This was strategy. She wasn't confused. She was confident. Confident enough to involve police without hesitation. That meant she thought she was protected. I took a slow breath and reached back into my truck, pulling out the thick manila folder I'd driven 18 hours with. Deed. Probate papers. County tax receipt. Everything. I held it up, visible, calm. "Ma'am," I said, keeping my voice level, "before you do that, you might want to verify." She covered the phone's mic and snapped, "I don't need to verify anything. The HOA already handled it." Handled it. That word again. She paced now, heels crunching gravel like punctuation marks. Every step screamed authority. Years of unchecked HOA power unleashed on the wrong property. While she talked to dispatch, I walked, slowly, toward the fence line. Toward the survey stakes. I recognized that pasture like muscle memory. The crooked oak tree. The shallow dip where rain pooled in spring. Nothing had moved. Nothing had changed. Except someone had decided it now belonged to them. "Sir," she barked, spinning around. "Do not move further onto HOA land." I stopped. Turned. Held up the folder again. "This ranch predates Pine Ridge Estates by at least 20 years, I said. "It was never annexed. Never signed over. Never joined." She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might stick. "That's not how development works," she said loudly, making sure dispatch heard. "Old parcels get absorbed. Everyone knows that." No. Everyone does not know that. And that's when I saw the real issue. Behind her, just beyond the fence, were brand new homes. Identical. Clean. Perfect. A manicured neighborhood pressed right up against raw, uncooperative land. My land. 40 acres of it. Land that didn't match their rules. Their aesthetic. Their control. Land they wanted. A chill ran through me, not fear. Recognition. This wasn't about HOA violations. This was about expansion. She ended the call and looked at me with something close to satisfaction. "Sheriff's office is on the way," she said. "I suggest you leave before this gets embarrassing." Embarrassing. I almost laughed. Instead, I asked one question. "Who signed the sale?" She hesitated. Just for a second. A crack. Then she said, "The HOA board approved it under abandonment provisions." Abandonment. My grip tightened on the folder. "My grandfather passed away 3 months ago," I said quietly. "The property taxes were paid. Utilities active. The house maintained." Her jaw set. "Well," she replied, "no one lived here." That was it. That was the justification. Because grief doesn't count. Because inheritance doesn't pause HOA ambition. Because if you're not standing on your land every day, someone else might decide to stand there for you. A patrol car appeared at the far end of the drive. Slow. Dust rising behind it. Her smile returned. I felt something shift. Not panic, not doubt. Resolve. Because I knew something she didn't. I hadn't just inherited land. I'd inherited leverage. And in about 30 seconds, she was going to find out just how badly the HOA had messed up. The patrol car rolled to a stop between us like a referee walking into a fight that was already personal. Gravel crunched. Engine idled. Doors opened. 2 deputies stepped out, measured, cautious, already reading the tension in the air. This wasn't their first HOA call, but it was about to become their most confusing. The woman straightened instantly. Clipboard up. Shoulders back. Voice rehearsed. "Thank you for coming," she said, pointing at me. "This man is trespassing on HOA property and refusing to leave." No hesitation. No nuance. Just accusation. One of the deputies looked at me. Middle-aged. Calm eyes. The kind of guy who'd seen enough paperwork disasters to know when something didn't smell right. "Sir," he said, "is this true?" I handed him the folder. "Before you answer that," I said evenly, "please look at this." He flipped it open. Deed. Recorded. Stamped. County seal. His eyebrows lifted slightly. Not dramatically, but enough. The woman noticed. "That's irrelevant," she snapped. "The HOA absorbed this parcel last year. It's all documented." "Do you have that documentation?" the deputy asked. She froze. Just for half a second. Then she smiled again and tapped her clipboard. "Of course," she said. "I don't carry it with me, but it's in our system." The deputy nodded slowly. Then looked back at me. "Sir, when did you acquire this property?" "I didn't acquire it," I replied. "I inherited it." Probate closed last month. Taxes paid through the end of the year. That did it. The second deputy stepped closer to the survey stakes, studying them like evidence markers. Who placed these? He asked. She answered too fast. The HOA, she said. As part of the sale. The deputy turned sharply. Sale? Yes, she replied. The board approved. Approved selling property you didn't own? He interrupted. Silence. Not the awkward kind. The dangerous kind. The woman's confidence wavered. She adjusted her sunglasses. Cleared her throat. It was abandoned, she said again. That's allowed under our bylaws. The first deputy closed the folder slowly. HOA bylaws don't override recorded deeds, he said. Her voice rose. But the county still shows this land under his grandfather's name. He continued, holding up the paperwork. And now under his. She blinked. No, she said. That can't be right. And there it was, the moment the story cracked. The deputy handed the folder back to me. Sir, he said, you are not trespassing. Her mouth opened. But. He raised a hand. However, he added, turning back to her, you may want to contact your HOA's legal counsel. Because selling land without clear title is serious. Serious didn't even begin to cover it. Her face flushed. Anger bled through embarrassment. You don't understand, she said sharply. This land is essential to the development. It was approved, surveyed, listed. The second deputy frowned. Approved by who? She hesitated, then said the worst possible thing. The board president assured us it was fine. Assured. Not verified. Assured. The deputies exchanged a look. That look said, someone's in trouble. The first deputy turned to me. Do you want to file a report? I didn't answer immediately. Because in that moment I realized something terrifying and powerful. This wasn't just a rogue HOA Karen. This was a coordinated decision. A board. A sale. A plan. And if they were willing to sell land they didn't own, what else had they done? Behind us, a moving truck rolled into the neighborhood. New buyers. New owners, who thought they'd just purchased a slice of my inheritance. And I knew what was coming next was going to get ugly. I watched the moving truck slow as it passed us, then stop. The driver leaned out, confused. A couple stepped out behind him. Mid-30s. Smiling. Excited. The kind of people who'd just signed their dream home paperwork and had no idea they were stepping into a legal nightmare. The woman beside me noticed too. Her posture shifted. This wasn't part of the plan. The buyers walked toward us, eyes darting between the deputies, the clipboard, the survey stake. Is everything okay? The man asked, nervous laughter creeping into his voice. The HOA woman jumped in immediately. Yes, she said too fast. Just a minor misunderstanding. The deputy turned. Actually, he said, that depends. The couple froze. I stepped forward, heart pounding, not from fear, but from the weight of what I was about to say. I'm sorry, I told them, meeting their eyes. But you may have been sold land that doesn't belong to the HOA. The silence that followed was brutal. The woman's smile collapsed. What do you mean? She asked. I gestured to the pasture. The fence line. The house behind me. This ranch, I said, has been in my family for decades. It was never part of the HOA. And I never authorized any sale. The HOA woman snapped. You do not speak to buyers. The deputy cut her off. He absolutely does. The couple exchanged looks, confusion turning into dread. We just closed this morning, the man said. We were told everything was clear. Clear. That word hit hard. The deputy pulled out his notepad. Who told you that? The woman hesitated, then said it. The HOA board. President Linda Harris. The name hung in the air. The deputy wrote it down slowly. I'm going to strongly recommend you contact an attorney, he told the couple. Immediately. Their faces drained of color. This wasn't just an HOA dispute anymore. This was fraud. The HOA woman's voice sharpened, panic creeping in. This is getting out of hand, she said. We followed procedure. Procedure doesn't override property law, the deputy replied. And it doesn't allow you to sell land you don't own. She turned on me, eyes blazing. You abandoned this place, she hissed. No one lived here. We had every right. My grandfather died, I said quietly. That's not abandonment. The words landed like a slap. The deputies went still. The couple stared at her, shock turning to anger. You knew someone owned this? The woman asked the HOA rep. She didn't answer. That was answer enough. The deputy cleared his throat. Ma'am, he said to the HOA woman, I need you to step back. Her voice shook. You're siding with him? I'm siding with the law. She backed away slowly, clutching her clipboard like a shield that no longer worked. The deputy turned to me again. Sir, filing a report is your call. But I want to be clear. This could involve multiple violations. I looked at the survey stakes again. The sale sign. The buyers whose lives had just been hijacked. And then I remembered something else. Something my grandfather always said. If someone tries to take what isn't theirs, don't just stop them. Make sure they can't do it again. I nodded. Yes, I said. I want to file. Her breath caught. And that's when her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen, and whatever she read made her go pale. Her face drained so fast it was like someone had pulled a plug. She didn't answer the call at first. Just stared at the screen. Swallowed. Then glanced at the deputies like she was measuring exits. The phone buzzed again. She answered. Yes. A pause. No, that's not. Her voice dropped. Sharp whispers now. Defensive. Desperate. I followed board instructions, she said. You told me it was cleared. The deputy watched her carefully. I didn't need to hear the other side of the call to know what was happening. Someone higher up was panicking. She turned away from us, pacing, heels digging into gravel. I don't care what the county says, she snapped into the phone. You said the abandonment clause would cover it. Abandonment again. That lie was doing a lot of heavy lifting. She stopped pacing. Froze. What do you mean the title company flagged it? That was the moment. Her shoulders slumped just slightly. Then came the line that told me everything. You didn't tell me that. The deputy raised an eyebrow. She ended the call and slowly turned back to us. The clipboard lowered. The confidence gone. There's been a complication, she said. The deputy crossed his arms. Let me guess, he said. The HOA doesn't actually own this land. She didn't answer. He nodded. That's what I thought. The couple stood there, stunned, anger simmering under disbelief. So our purchase is invalid? The man asked. The deputy chose his words carefully. It may be, he said. And that's something the courts will decide. The HOA woman's voice cracked. This is ridiculous, she said. We've already allocated funds. Planned expansion. The board approved everything. The deputy's tone hardened. Then the board may want to prepare for subpoenas. That word landed like a hammer. Subpoenas. The woman looked like she might faint. And that's when I pulled out the final piece. I also have mineral and water rights, I said calmly. Every head turned. The deputy looked at me sharply. You do? Yes, I replied. Full rights. Recorded. Never severed. The HOA woman's eyes widened in horror. Because that land wasn't just pasture. It was leverage. Water access. Development value. Utilities. Things HOAs dream about controlling. The deputy exhaled slowly. That complicates things further. No, I said. It clarifies them. I looked at the HOA woman. You didn't just try to sell my land, I said. You tried to sell what's under it too. Her knees buckled slightly. She grabbed the hood of her car to steady herself. The couple backed away from her like she was radioactive. The deputy pulled out his radio. I'm calling this in, he said. Potential fraud. Title misrepresentation. Unlawful sale. The HOA woman whispered, Linda is going to kill me. I shook my head. No, I said quietly. She did this to herself. The deputy looked at me one last time. Sir, he said, this isn't over. Not even close. I nodded, because I already knew. What was coming next wasn't a confrontation. It was a collapse. The sheriff's office didn't just call it in. They escalated it. Within an hour, 2 more vehicles arrived. One unmarked. One with county plates. The tone shifted from dispute to investigation. The HOA woman was asked to sit in her car. She didn't argue. She couldn't. Her clipboard, once a symbol of authority, now lay abandoned on the gravel like evidence. I watched from the porch as deputies photographed survey stakes, the for sale sign, the fence line. One of them pulled county GIS maps on a tablet. Lines appeared. Borders locked in. And every single one of them confirmed the same thing. The HOA had crossed the line. Literally. The couple who thought they'd bought my land sat on the tailgate of their truck, heads in their hands. A deputy explained their options. Refunds. Legal action. Claims against the HOA board. The word lawsuit floated through the air more than once. Then the unmarked car door opened. A woman stepped out. Late 40s. Sharp suit. No clipboard. This was county legal. She shook my hand first. Mister, she said. I'm very sorry this happened. That alone told me everything. She didn't apologize to the HOA rep. She didn't even look at her. Instead, she turned to the deputies. This parcel was never annexed, she said. Any sale executed by the HOA is invalid. Invalid. Clean. Final. The HOA woman overheard and let out a small, broken sound. But the board voted, she began. The county attorney cut her off. Your board does not have jurisdiction over land it doesn't own. She turned to me. You'll want to file civil claims, she said. And I strongly recommend placing a title lock immediately. I nodded. Then she added the line that sealed it. We are also opening a formal investigation into Pine Ridge Estates HOA. The HOA woman's head snapped up. Including, the attorney continued, prior sales. Prior. Plural. That meant this might not be the first time. The realization rippled through everyone present. The deputy turned to the HOA woman. Ma'am, he said, you are not under arrest at this time. But you are not free to leave until we finish statements. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't answer. I walked to the edge of the pasture and pressed my boot into the dirt. Solid. Familiar. Real. My grandfather's land. Untouched by their rules. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the field. For the first time since I arrived, the place felt quiet again. Not peaceful, but protected. As the deputies packed up, one of them approached me. You did the right thing coming here when you did, he said. Another week and this would have been a mess to unwind. I looked back at the neighborhood, at the identical houses, at the HOA rep sitting silently in her car. They thought no one would show up, I said. He nodded. That's usually how it works. I watched the last patrol car pull away. And that's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. A woman's voice. Cold. Controlled. This is Linda Harris, she said. President of Pine Ridge Estates HOA. She paused. We need to talk. I didn't sit down. I didn't even look at the house. I stayed right there on the porch, staring out over the land as the call connected. You've done enough talking, I said. Your board sold land you didn't own. She exhaled slowly, like someone trying to regain control of a situation already lost. There's been a misunderstanding, she said. We believed the parcel was abandoned. No, I replied. You hoped it was. Silence. Then she changed tactics. We can make this right, she said. Compensation. A settlement. We'll reverse the sale quietly. Quietly. That was the giveaway. This isn't going to be quiet, I said. Her tone hardened. You need to understand how expensive this could get, she warned. Legal fees. Delays. Stress. I smiled, though she couldn't see it. My grandfather already paid for this land, I said. You don't get to scare me off it. She tried one last move. Think about the neighborhood, she said. The development. The community. Community. I looked at the pasture. The oak tree. The fence my grandfather built by hand. This is my community, I said. And you trespassed on it. Another pause. Then her voice dropped. What do you want? There it was. Not power. Not authority. Negotiation. I want 3 things, I said. First, your HOA ceases all claims to this land. Permanently. She agreed quickly. Second, you compensate the buyers you misled. Fully. That took longer. Then. Third, I continued, you publicly record that this ranch is not and never was part of your HOA. Silence stretched. Finally she spoke. That will expose us. Yes, I said. That's the point. She sighed. We'll have to vote. You already did, I replied. And look where it got you. The call ended without another word. A week later, the for sale sign was gone. So were the survey stakes. The buyers got refunds, and then some. The HOA board president resigned. 2 others followed. The investigation is still ongoing. As for the ranch, I moved in, repaired the fences, fixed the porch, sat in the same chair my grandfather used to watch the sunrise. The HOA never contacted me again. But they did something else. They amended their bylaws. New rule. No expansion without verified title. Funny how that happens. Because sometimes the wrong HOA Karen doesn't just meet resistance. She meets an owner who shows up.